are listening to Veterans Action Report on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you live from St. Paul, Minnesota.
And I'm Andrew Canales, coming to you live from Evergreen, Colorado.
Every day, veterans are struggling with many issues spanning from homelessness to mental health crisis, often leading to 22 veterans a day taking their own lives. There are veterans all around the U.S. leading the fight to help guide our brothers and sisters to a better life. We will bring you stories from all around the country telling tales of veteran struggles and triumph. Every episode benefits veteran-run nonprofits Warriors Next Adventure, helping veterans fight PTSD through recreational therapy and new adventures. And Houses for Warriors, helping solve the homeless crisis, leading veterans to a better lifestyle. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 16 of Veterans Action Report. As usual, thank you to KGRA for giving us this time slot. You guys can listen on iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, all kinds of different places. And then usually I try to upload the episode within a day or two, and you can get it on Spotify for later listens. If not, you can listen on KGRA YouTube, Veterans Action Report YouTube, or Warriors Next Adventure, Houses for Warriors. So this week, we're going to interview Chad. Chad is another one of the guys who is rowing the ocean with me. Last week we had Tommy on. This week we'll have Chad on. And then next week we're going to try to get Will on as well, just so we can get a little bit more in depth about what we're about to do. Just a quick update on Warriors Next Adventure. We have the Memorial Day hockey tournament, the Memorial Weekend hockey tournament. It's going to be May 28th and 29th. It's going to be at the Blaine Super Rink here in Minnesota. It's going to be $1,000 per team. And what we're doing is we're trying to raise money for the nonprofit. We're going to use this as our big fundraiser every year. We're sponsored by Running Aces. We're also sponsored by Trax Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who actually, sporting this right here. It's the gym that I train at. And I also run the WNA BJJ portion of Warriors Next Adventure out of the gym. Mark is Air Force vet. He's like a second father to me. He's been a great help and support to what we do. Running Aces Casino. It's right up the road, up off of 35, up by Forest Lake. I've only been there one time and lost all of my money very quickly. So I don't go up there too often. But they donated a stay and play as well for the raffle. We also got a hockey stick donated from the Gophers women's hockey team. A bunch of the U.S. Olympians signed it as well, which is pretty sweet. So thank you, Natalie, for giving that to us as well. Neighbor of Honor is also helping us do all the planning. So, Jeff Stave from Neighbor of Honor, those guys are awesome. I appreciate your guys' support. And then, of course, the Blaine Super Rink, they've been more than accommodating, and I'm really excited to see what this tournament can actually bring in. So, also we are building our race cars, and we need help, right? So the car is coming along just fine. We have the front end is pretty much installed. My friend Steve, big shout out to Steve. He actually got somebody to do our heads and the engine block itself for $140, which is absolutely insane. So huge thanks to him, saved us a lot of money, and we'll be able to get, hopefully we'll be able to get about 15 veterans racing this year. We're going to try to do anywhere from 15 to 20 races, depending on the funding. That program is sponsored by Rip It Energy. We're also looking for sponsors for the other cars as well. Working on getting some shirts done, getting ready to buy all the gear that we're going to need. We did a fundraiser, and we raised $1,200 in like a day and a half. So we can get helmets, all the safety equipment we're going to need to get these veterans behind the wheel. We got all kinds of different stuff going on. And Houses for Warriors, I was talking to Andrew recently. As you know, Andrew's my co-host. He teamed up with Homes for Veterans, and they donated like $60,000 to Houses for Warriors to help them actually get a remodel for a veteran who is wheelchair bound. And there's videos out there of his wife carrying him up the stairs, which is absolutely insane. She's an absolute rock star. He pretty much just comes up, and she stands in front of him. He puts his arms around her back. She picks him up and carries him upstairs to his bedroom, which is absolutely insane. So what they're doing is they're building an elevator inside the house. And there's a lot of really cool videos on Houses for Warriors. Go to their YouTube page. Their YouTube page and their Facebook, as well as their website. And go check it out. So both our pages have donate buttons on there. If you guys want to donate to Warriors Next Adventure, Houses for Warriors, means a lot to both of us. we both started our charities because, you know, we saw an issue. We both struggled from the issue that we decided to help with. And we're out there, you know, doing the best we can. So speaking of another charity, I also represent Fight or Die. I cannot wait to get this thing done. Chad here is kind of running everything with the Fight or Die side of what we're doing with Warriors Next Adventure. So I'll bring Chad on and we'll talk a little bit more in depth. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, man? Long time.
Not too bad. I like that shirt you're wearing, man.
Like it. It's a nice representation of Fight or Die, and of course Wester Automotive Group, who's kind enough and generous enough to fund this crazy voyage for us. So
yeah, they donated a few bucks to us.
They sure did. And goes without saying, there's always got to be a shout out to Scott, Brad, and Bill, and all the Wester team. So Wester, for those who don't know, Fight or Die is an organization to help with veterans' mental health, but they also have an I don't really like to call it an awareness program with the row. It's more so of like, you know, showing veterans that we can do badass shit outside of the military, right? You know, life does not end just because your time in the service ended. You can still do amazing things. And West Herd donated $80,000 so we could actually do this race, which is absolutely unbelievable. So Chad, talk a little bit about West Herd. Like, how did this happen? How did you end up raising $80,000 with one phone call? Yes. You know, they have a phenomenal team with Wester. I worked for Wester when I first moved from Buffalo, from the Carolinas when I separated. You know, went through the school, be an auto tech, got a job at Wester about a year into that. And then Scott Beeler is actually the owner of Wester, and I worked for them for a couple of years. I left to open up my own garage for a while. I came back. When I came back, I actually deployed, and Cindy was almost 9 months pregnant when I deployed. Within a couple of weeks of deploying, we had a major issue with the vehicle, and obviously with a newborn and a small child at home, it was a big thing. Scott actually reached out, and we reached out to the Wester guys that I was trying to deal with, like getting the car fixed and all that other stuff. So Wester actually covered the entire cost of that, brought the car back to her, no questions asked. And when I get back to my deployment, of course, when we're out there, you know, I'm doing flyaway security. So I said, well, you know, you guys are stepping up. I'm going to take an American flag and fly it around. I think I hit Lebanon, a few other places with that, and brought it back to him. And Scott came in shortly after I got back and said that we were going to sit down and have a cup of coffee, which unfortunately we never did at the time. And then all of a sudden, as I left there, I went back to the military and stuff. And then the opportunity came for Fight or Die. And we knew how much money we needed to raise in order to actually make this race happen. And they were the first people I thought of, because Scott has done so much in the community of Buffalo when it's come to anything. He just actually donated, don't quote me on this, I believe it was $25,000 for a family either today or yesterday that lost their home in a fire in downtown Tonawanda, New York. Just pretty much said he's going to cover it. So it's huge. I mean, the guy is known all over Western New York for everything he does. He donated a boat to the women's cancer team down at the Buffalo Rowing Club. He's just an all-around generous individual. And we had the opportunity to sit down and talk. And I sent him an email and I said, hey, Scott, I know when I got back to my deployment, we talked about having a cup of coffee. I'd like to sit down and have that cup of coffee, and I got an idea for you. And he saw the passion, he saw the mission, he saw the need for it. And yeah. His exact words were, what donation do we need to get to have you skipping across that parking lot?
And see, the funny thing is, too, is he actually asked, like, how do I get my name on that boat? How do I get the title? Right. Like, you know, well, that was hilarious.
Like, we've done fundraisers before for Warriors Next Adventure. You know, that's always been a big thing since I got involved with it. We've done fundraisers. We've done things here and there. But, you know, when you're asking me face to face, how much money do you need? And I've never asked for more than $1,000 from anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I start pulling out the sponsorship stuff. I'm like, well, we got, you know, you got 10 by 10 slots that are 10 grand a piece, 5 grand a piece. And he's like, not next. I was like, we have a half sponsor, 40 grand for, you know, half the title sponsor. And he was like, okay, what's the other one? And by the time we left there, that's when I called you. I think you were the first one I called and said, so yeah, this dude just, he said, what is it going to take for you to skip across that parking lot? And I left there, not only left there with a sponsorship, but he sat down and gave me this book, an incredible book.
that's sitting at home that you guys are going to eventually pass around to you guys about a guy's mindset with business and stuff. And he's like, read this book. I've read this book. I mean, just an all out outstanding individual that sat down, took the time to discuss the veteran suicide and the mental health side of the military. I mean, he asked me some personal questions, and it's one of those things where, you know, me and just as well as a lot of people do, like, I'm not going to shy away from sharing my story on my struggles, because we all have struggles, but it's opening up that actually, you know, put me more at peace. And I've helped so many people for the fact that I've been able to open up about it. So
yeah, man, like, you know, it's I normally don't bring up other people's shit, but like when you called me, like right about the time I was getting ready to figure something out, I believe it was 2018.
No, it was definitely 2018. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was before I got started. I was going through my second divorce, and you know, I was like trying to figure out what am I going to do with my life. I was at the point where I knew I wanted to do something, and I didn't know what it was. But I think it was like towards the end of my planning process is when you called me and you said that you were struggling a little bit. And, you know, that's when I think that's the first time I told you about, you know, my issues. And
that's definitely an understatement there. I know when I called you, I was struggling a lot of it. So, but yeah, I was just, I was in a rough place, and I mean, we've known each other for years. I knew, and we had connected a few times over the years and stuff like that. But then, you know, I kind of reached out to you and needing an outside opinion. I mean, that's sometimes all you need. You need an outside voice of reason, outside opinion for someone to say, hey, you know, and you're obviously the guy I'm going to call, because you're the guy that says, you know, get your act together. Like you're
never going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm just going to
tell
you
no
what you need
BS
to hear.
Kind of guy, and that's what I mean. I learned that we deployed together 4 times.
Yeah.
I mean, one of those we worked in completely different sections, but you were always the guy that, like, if I brought something to you,
yeah.
I mean, I believe we had a conversation in Balad where I brought something to you, and you were like already in bed, and you looked over at me, you shook your head at me, and then you went straight back to bed, and I was like, okay, shit together, got it. So yeah, it was just yeah. That's why I made that call. Probably to this day the best decision of my life when it comes to my own mental health.
Well, you know, Chad, when I asked you, you know, because I asked you and Tommy right about the same time, and you know, I've talked about this before, and the podcast that will never be released that we had last weekend or the weekend before, we talked about this a little bit, but there's a reason why I brought you on the team for Warriors Next Adventure. So for those who don't know, Chad is one. He was, you know, him and Tommy were the first ambassadors because of the changes that I saw within them. Now, and I'm not saying this just to stroke your ego or anything like that, but from that conversation, you know, I saw a slight change, right? And then we ended up climbing the mountain together. And then you called me after the mountain. You're like, I need to get my shit together, man, because you were telling me that you were out of shape. And now I'm in great shape. That mountain kicked my ass as well.
I knew going into that I was like, the 2 months going up to the hike, it was like, you know, you need to get in shape for this. You need to get in shape for this. Yeah. And I was probably the heaviest I'd ever been. I lost a little bit of weight for the hike. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know, I'm feeling good. I lost this weight. And then I climbed that mountain. And at the top, I remember sitting there going like, yeah, no, you got a ways to work. But I set that baseline of like, yeah, no.
Well, see, here's the thing though, man. You know, there's something that I always tell people is there's 2 ways you can handle, you know, I usually say a tragedy, but there's 2 ways you can handle anything in life. You can let it destroy you. You can use it as fuel. So you could have climbed that mountain and said, I'm so out of shape, I can't do this anymore, and just gave up and went, you know, eating potato chips on the couch, right? But what I saw in you is you completely transformed yourself, right? Like, so you got to the point where like you were lifting weights all the time. You started posting about lifting weights and fitness and shit like that. And it's like, I saw your mindset
getting all those fun little videos of me in the gym.
Yeah. Like I started seeing your mindset change, right? So like you and, you know, there's probably like 2 or 3 other vets who were like the first real example of what I'm trying to do. Right. And it's not me fixing people, right? And I keep telling people that I don't fix people, I don't heal people or anything like that. They do it themselves. The only thing that I do is I give them the kick in the ass they need. And you were one of the first examples of actually seeing somebody completely take what I was saying and you ran with it, man.
Well,
and
I feel like I took that in the same way I took this row. Like I said, yeah, I'll climb a mountain with you. And as it got closer, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like with this row, like I was like, I called you first. You were the first person I called. And then once I said, I'm doing this, I'm like, for like the first 2 weeks, I was like, man, I'm gonna row an ocean. And then I started like, I'll get times where I'm thinking about it, like, oh, yeah, I'm rowing an ocean. Like,
this is stupid.
This is really stupid. But no, it's for a it was kind of like the turning point for me. Acknowledge it was more so maybe not the turning point in like saying like I got my shit together for my mental health, like all together, because it's always a work in progress. But it was my turning point to realizing that there is an issue there. Like, let's address it. And then after we climbed that first one, I got an itch for the same thing you do with like going out. And I was like, wow, this was actually, I enjoyed the hell out of that hike. So I was like, let's do this again. And I thought, 2 days after Marcy, like how much I enjoyed that hike until I got back on Marcy yet again. And halfway up, I was like, you know what? This is what I forgot how this felt going up this mountain.
This is terrible. I hate this.
So,
it's funny because every time somebody climbs a mountain with me, it's like usually about like 3/4 of the way up. They're like, this is terrible. I hate this. Then we get up to the top. You're like, man, I feel so good. And then on our way back down, I'm like, God, I hate you. And then it's like a roller coaster.
You don't really remember those moments, though, even after the hikes. When you talk about the hikes, you think of the highs of the hikes. You don't really think of the lows, like the climb in the mountain. Like Marcy, the second time, I felt was like worse. I was in better shape, a lot better shape. But I felt like it was worse because there was like parts of the mountain that I remembered.
Yeah.
Like there was turns I remember. And I'm like, you turn this corner. And then I remember turn this corner. And I remember the top being so close. I turned that corner and the top was not anywhere close. It was just a figment of my imagination. And then here I am 2 miles later going, dude, I could have sworn that was the corner I turned.
Man, I will never forget Paul seeing that false peak. We came up to the top. He looked, he was like, nope, I'm done. And he just sat down. He sparked up a joint. He's like, I'll meet you guys at the bottom.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing in the world.
And you know what? I couldn't even blame him. Like, I was like, I mean, at the same time, we're all like, dude, we're so close. But geez, man, that when you feel like you're on top of a mountain, you're like, man, I did this. And then you turn the corner and the mountain is next to you. And
I was so defeated when I
all
saw
you
that,
see is little dots of people climbing up the side of it. And it looks like little ants. And you're like, your body's broke already. And you're like, yeah, I remember pushing from that false summit and being like, man, this has to be worth it.
We got to get you over to Colorado and do a 14er with us, man, because it puts Marcy to shame. Marcy sucked because it was a long hike. But these mountain climbs, man, they're only like 9 miles, but
yeah,
it's like straight up. Like Mount Massive, it's the second highest mountain peak in the Rockies, but it's like 10 feet shorter than Mount Elbert.
Yeah.
And I think Massive is a harder trail. Like it sucked, man. There's a point where like, I got a hole in my heart. So it's any kind of like elevation does kick my ass, so that's part of the reason why I continue to push through this is to show people like, listen, just because you have a condition, right, it doesn't mean that you can't do what you want to do.
Right.
But man, every time I hit that 14,000 foot mark, it's just, oh my God, it's bad. I don't think I could do Kilimanjaro, man. Like I keep thinking about it. And it's like, with how much pain I'm in, climbing 14ers, I'm like, I don't know about a 20,000. Like that's
you
crazy.
Think to yourself, you're like, it's only 6,000 feet, and then you climb a 14 or even Marcy, which was like was under 6. Even when you climb to the top of that, you're like, that's quite a ways.
Yeah, especially when like I think Kilimanjaro, man, it's like you start at the base essentially. It's one of the largest. I think it's one of the largest freestanding mountains out there. So like from base to top is like that's the longest climb. Like I even think like Denali is actually a longer climb than Everest because you start at a higher elevation at Everest, but it's just Everest is just a higher elevation. But
right,
so the mountain climbing stuff, I'm going to continue to do that no matter what, just because it sucks. I keep telling people, you got to push through and do the things that suck, because if you don't, like if you get no resistance in life, then you're probably not going to grow.
Right.
When things start to get difficult and things start to get hard, that means you're getting resistance because you're trying to grow. With resistance comes growth always.
The role that we're doing is not for like not for the questionable faint of heart. I mean, when we set out to do it, we set out to do it. I mean, we keep talking about, like Will says, do big things. And I don't know, man. Like I'm trying to like wrap my head around the fact of like what's bigger than rowing across the Atlantic. I mean, that's huge, and it's a huge platform for bringing to light all the issues. And like we had said before, and we said on the call with Evan from Fight or Die the other day, all these guys that keep doing the stuff for awareness, it's cool because the awareness is actually, I mean, it's there, but we're changing the culture, and that's the big thing. So you got to forgive the little yippies in the background there.
I always tell people, like, awareness is good. Yeah, sure. But like, people know, like they I said this and it pissed somebody off the other day, and I didn't really give a shit, but people know veterans are killing themselves. It fucking sucks. Right. Sorry, I didn't swear. But what are you going to do? With awareness, like, it's there. Yeah. Okay. We can be aware, but what are you doing? What are you actually doing? Right. To make this stop or change it, right? And it all has to do with changing the perspective and changing the mindset. And that's what I focus on with Warriors Next Adventure, which is why, Fight or Die is like perfect. Tommy said it last week that, Fight or Die's mission is pretty synonymous with Warriors Next Adventure. We just have a different vehicle, of making it happen. And it's all about showing people, listen, I can do amazing things. You can too. You know, and that's why I, like I tell a lot of people, Warriors Next Adventure initially, my first idea was to start just a travel blog. I was just going to travel.
Hey, you keep talking. Drop me off for just a second. I got to take care of these kids real quick. Sorry for
that. So for those of you who didn't know, what I ended up doing was I wanted to inspire people to travel because one of my big aha moments was actually in Hawaii in 2018. I flew out to Hawaii as a divorce present to myself. And I went out and spent 8 days backpacking around Hawaii. I mean, I had a Subaru and everything like that, so I could get pretty much anywhere I needed to go. But I slept on the beach in a tent. I slept on a mountain one night. I stayed in an Airbnb like 2 nights. But the big aha moment was all the beautiful places that I went to go see were things that I've never seen before. I've only seen in pictures, but it's so much more of an awe when you see it in person. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to inspire veterans to go see that awe, right? And I wanted to inspire awe. And so what I decided to do was what I decided to do was actually, start Warriors Next Adventure as a travel blog. I was making a website and everything like that. And so I did it. But before I even sold anything, I started realizing, like, is this going to be good enough? And so I took some veterans with me. My first mountain climb was actually Eagle Mountain here in Minnesota. It's like 2,200 feet. But it's a 3-mile hike. And when I took these guys with me, it was my friend Kevin, Jordan, Jeremy, and Kendra. And, when I told them about my situation, it was one of the first times that I had actually told them about what had happened to me. And next thing you know, they start talking and they start sharing their stories. And it was after that mountain climb, I decided, like, I need to take people with me. Everywhere I go, I need to take people with me because I need people to experience what is happening. So what I decided to do was, turn Warriors Next Adventure into a 501c3 and then collect donations so I could actually take veterans on these trips to have these aha moments or these awe moments,
And that's what it was for me. It was just the exact same thing. It was us climbing a mountain, and it was like I think the drive home for me was where it actually kicked in. It was stupid. It was absolutely retarded of me to do, but I drove first thing in the morning. I drove 5.5 hours. I met you guys at Marcy. I climbed up Marcy, climbed down Marcy, completely out of shape, and then drove home 5.5 hours. And the drive was rough, but during that drive, I think within the first hour, as I was driving, I kind of reflected on, like, the conversations we had on that mountain. And reflected on, like, you told your story a little bit on the mountain with the guys. And, like, a lot of people, like, they hear the story, like, they hear my story from, like, 2009, they hear your story. And I think for your story kind of hit me kind of hard because we had roomed together so many times deployed. I mean, we didn't go through basic together, went to tech school, we stationed the same place. We go through the that FBI TAC training we went through. Then we deployed, then came home. We deployed again together. We came back. We both worked different areas, and then we deployed again together. And it was like we'd actually known each other. We were pretty close, like every deployment, because we shared a room almost every single deployment.
Yeah.
Or we're at least within a building of each other, or we're sitting in gun trucks together talking on headsets for 12 hours a day. So when I started hearing your story, it was like for me, I was like, man, like that was the first time I probably told anyone my story of it. And I was like, you know, and no one really saw it from where I was at. Like no one actually expected it. It was the same with you. Like I would have never expected to hear your story and be like, man, I knew that guy really good, but the fact that he didn't feel like he could reach out to me, that kind of hit you. So after doing that hike, it was like I got back and I was like, okay, well, you know, I learned this about all my guys. Now it's my turn to actually put that foot forward and be that person that people feel comfortable with reaching out with. And I think it changed my whole mentality with work. It changed my whole mentality with my troops on how I handled them. And I even told my superintendent not too long ago when I said, you know, they said something about being a supervisor. So I'm not a supervisor, I'm a mentor. Like I'm not here to look over your shoulder as a supervisor. My job is to, you know, keep you in line, help you see the best way for you. If your way is like, if your job is not making you happy, I'm not going to be one of those guys by the book saying, no, you got to stay here and do this. If you want to be out doing something else, I got you. I'm going to help you get to that point. I'm not a supervisor. I'm a mentor, and like not the best one, but you know, there's improvement going on my end. I mean, I still look up to you guys. I look up to Will. I look up to Tommy. So, I mean, that hike was those hikes by taking people out. I mean, that was a big kick in the ass to say for me.
You know, I like that saying, you know, I'm a mentor, not a supervisor. And I think more people in leadership positions should think about it like that. Like when we go anywhere with Warriors Next Adventure, I'm not in charge. I'm just a mentor. That's it. Yeah. Right. So somebody always takes the lead, you know, because I'm not going to do it. Like all the mountain climbs, there's always somebody that usually takes front because they want to go the right way. They want to do this, and that's fine. I have no issue with that because I have zero control over this. Right. What I want to do is I want to mentor people. I want to find out what are some of the issues that are really making you struggle. Like what are some of the things from your past that are really holding you back? And I'd rather focus on that. I have zero, you know, need to be in charge of anything. Right. I mean, yeah, I do the planning shit like that. Like you guys see the amount of work that I put into this nonprofit. You know, you, Tommy, Will, you know, the rest of the board and the ambassadors. I mean, you guys see how much work I do, and I don't really tell other people. You guys are the only ones who I'll share like the comments or the stories that I get from other people. I only share that with you guys because that's nobody's business, right? But you guys work, you know, for the organization. So I want to share like, this is what we're doing and this is what it does to people, you know? So it's nice having, you know, a group of people that I can talk to and vent to. Right. And I use you guys all the time, you know, but, you know, like I said, you, Tommy, Will, like everybody, you guys have shown what I want to see in veterans. You know, I want to see improvement. I want to see change. Right. And so what I started telling veterans,
I think a big thing for you though, is you found your way. So you were like at this level and you found like a better path of doing it. You're trying to help people up this level, but you never keep yourself up here above everyone else. And that's a huge thing because there's been vets that have reached out to me. And, you know, I call them and I say, hey, you know, let me throw some options out there to try to get you back on track. And when those vets call you on a rough day for you and they're calling you saying, hey, just want to check in, or, hey, proud of you, did something good. It's not because I'm not better than anybody else. You're not better than anybody else by helping them. You're on the same field as these guys. You just see, you have an outside perception of it and you have a little experience in certain things when it comes to stuff. And like a lot of the guys that I've been able to help push have come back huge for me. So it's not like they don't feel like you're not trying to get that complex of like,
yeah,
here I am as your savior. Like hey, let's go through this together. Like,
that's what do you always tell people, you know, that's why I always tell the guys when they reach out to me and say, hey, you saved my life or you changed my life. I always tell them like, listen, you're the one who reached out to me. You're the one who listened to what I said. You're the one who put in the work. You changed you.
And that's,
I just
you said that to me. I mean, you said that to me multiple times, and it doesn't build that complex or that look of like, I got to reach up for something. It gives that whole, like, I'm reaching over, I'm asking for a hand. I got a guy right next to me that's willing to show me some stuff and to help. I mean, it's huge. It's a whole.
Then I want nothing in exchange other than for you to improve. That's it.
It's a lot different than a lot of organizations that I've been a part of over the years. There's always, you find those ones that have a complex, and it's hard to get past that. Like, you feel like you do something good and they're waiting for you to give them a pat on the back. You've always been like, I do something good, and you're like, yeah, you climbed a mountain. You're like, no, you did that. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, you did it, man.
I did. I climbed the mountain.
It's the only thing I really ask for anybody to do. Like, if you had a good experience, just to, leave a review on Google, leave a review on Facebook. That's the only thing I'll ever ask anybody to do, because, what that's doing is, what if there's a veteran who says, oh, I wonder what this organization is, and they could get some really good help out of what we offer. But, they see and there's no reviews or anything, like, screw those guys.
Just wait till we do the reviews from the Atlantic. It was like 2 out of 10.
Do not recommend.
Would not recommend.
I would recommend flying.
And flying, all the flying fish that I can jump out of the water and land in the boat. And
yeah. Well, so we all got together. What was that? 2 weeks ago now? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we all went over to Will's over in Wisconsin. It's where the Whoopie is. It's the boat that we're rowing. And we spent a little bit of time working on the boat, tearing everything apart. And like we talked to Tommy, putting on those immersion suits was like the funniest thing in the world.
I was looking to see if we had videos of Tommy. Because
we do. I got to get it from Will. It's hilarious.
It was like if Deadpool and Aquaman had a baby, that's what Tommy looked like. It was like
he looked like Scuba Steve.
Share the story forever, but like if we don't have any pictures before we roll this, we have to post pictures of him in that. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in a long time. But
and the funny thing is too, like when we took that, when I put that picture up of the Whoopie with me sitting on the poop bucket, everyone's like, "You're such a clown! Like, you're getting ready to do this, blah 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 blah. You're this. You never take anything seriously." I'm like, "Why? Why should I?
Why? Why?" Here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people that take things serious, especially when it comes to like something this big, like the row, for example, we're pushing a good cause, but that doesn't mean we have to be serious all the time. If we're serious all the time, I feel like we are not a serious team. We're a team that like we're gonna put in the work, but we're gonna enjoy the process. I've enjoyed this process from the time I called you guys about it, and you guys all said, "Yeah, I'm an idiot. Let's do this." Like, I've enjoyed the process from then until now. My whole goal, and I think the goal for our team that we talked about the other day, is let's enjoy this. Yeah. Like, let's do what we need to do. Let's inspire people, but let's enjoy the process. Let's not make this look like a grueling process to where people don't want to do it.
Well, like, it's fun, man. We're getting ready to do something that it's crazy
have ever done.
Yeah, and it's fun. I mean, the rowing's going to suck and everything like that, but think about the experiences we're going to have, man. Like, how often do you get a chance to row a boat across the ocean? Like, and it blows my mind. Like, I still can't properly describe it. I'm trying, but I still can't describe how excited I am and how, like, big of an opportunity this is,
Remember
I've never wanted to row across the ocetion, ever.
Remember never wanted to do at the McDonald's in Buffalo? We had the boat. And the guy's like, "Where's the motor?" We're like, "There is no motor." He's like,
"I know, right?
Are you effing with me?" I'm like, "No, there's no motor." And he's like, seriously, guys, where's like the joke? I get that so much when I tell people. They're like, "Hey, man, like, I'm reading your shirt. Like, what's that all about?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm rowing a boat across the ocean." They're like, "No, but seriously, like, are you joking with me?" I'm like, "No, I'm not joking with you." Sometimes I wonder if I'm joking with myself.
Yeah.
Like, but
well, no. Like that lady at the snowmobile thing when we were in Wisconsin, you're like, "Yeah, we're actually a team. We're rowing a boat across the ocean." She looked at us like, "Yeah, okay. Like, I don't know if you're messing with me or not." And I'm like,
I don't know if you're messing with me or if this is like if you just want to like, where's the camera?
Yeah. Like, well, and I try to explain to people why, and I still can't give them a good reason why. The only good reason I can give them is why not.
I think that's been, I mean, I know Will said it too when we did the podcast with Mr. Blackman. It was just like, he said, "Why would you do this?" And Will was like, "Why not?" Like, I cannot find a reason not to do this. And then, I mean, if there was like no cause behind it or something like that, I would probably think again and be like, but really, what is our reason for not rowing? I mean, I put myself in some pretty shady situations mentally, maybe physically, nothing like this. Like,
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
crazy.
I don't think any of us could look back and be like, I've been in a situation mentally and physically that could relate to this.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I'm
mean,
more
you know,
what I'm going to while we're out there. Like, when
Yeah.
I get back and I'm gonna look back on the things that we accomplished as a team, the things I accomplished personally, the mental struggles that went on in my head the whole time we were out there, and I can look back and say, wow, like, okay, what am I going to learn about myself? That's the unknown. That's like the biggest unknown for me, is like, I know that there's going to be so much that comes from this, and it may not be like so much recognition. I'm not even looking for recognition. There could be so much awareness and stuff like that. For me, the biggest thing is like, what is this going to do for me personally? Like, what is the effect it's going to have on me?
Yeah.
And it seems kind of selfish sometimes when you're like, everyone's like, you're rowing it for veterans mental health. And I'm like, yeah. And deep down, I do have the little side thing of like, what changes is this going to impact in my life? I'm sure there's going to be.
Well, yeah, you have to, man. You're sacrificing so much to do this, like, I mean, you're getting out of the Air Force to do this.
Yeah.
Because they're not giving you the support that you deserve. I'll speak for that, considering that you're, you can stay quiet. I'll speak for you. I think it's bullshit. I think that you should have gotten 100% support from the beginning, and it shouldn't have been such a hard fight to actually get them to approve this. But the fact that you pretty much told them, I'm doing this, goodbye. I mean, I did that with Warriors Next Adventure with the State Patrol.
Yeah.
I had a mission I wanted to do. They told me no, and I said, peace, and I got out.
You can't. The same thing with you and the troopers. What I got from that is the same thing that I had a conversation with someone the other day, and they said, the role is a big thing, but you got your job as well. And one thing that the troopers, for you, I think a big thing for you is you have values on how you want to do things. You have goals. You are not going to compromise your values for a paycheck.
Nope.
That's a big thing.
Never
if you
again.
start finding yourself compromising values for a paycheck, you'll be well off with money. But if I have to look back 5 years from now and say, man, Nick and those guys did great on that row, I wish I could have been there.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm tired. I'm nervous, like, of missing out. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a quote that I actually really enjoyed. I mean, I shared something similar with him, but it says, the only thing he's scared of is leaving this world without doing enough.
Yeah.
Like, after 2015, in my head, I can never do enough. And the thing that a lot of people tell me is like, you ask for too much, or you're doing too much, or doing this, blah, 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 blah. Those people, I mean, I don't really pay attention to them, but they don't understand that there's so much to life that nobody explores. You think about the graveyard is a field of dead dreams, a field of lost dreams. And it's like, I want my grave to be empty. I tell people that all the time. I want to do everything I can.
Yeah, it's been interesting from start to finish to where we're at now. It's been interesting, my whole situation, and the situations for you guys. We all have our own stuff. I mean, mine's been trying to figure out what I'm going to do and like stay go kind of thing. And, I know what I need to do, and I need to be on that boat. Like, I can't watch that video day in and day out. I watch that video probably every other day, a couple times a week.
The 2019 recap.
Yep. And every time I see that 2019 recap, I see those flares, and I'm like, and I don't even have to remind myself. It's just more of like, why you need to be on that boat.
Yeah.
Like, why you need to be on that boat. So I'm not going to look back and be like, man, I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have taken the time to do it. I mean, yeah.
Well, that, and then like, with all of us sitting together in Wisconsin, watching people finish, like watching Ocean Warrior finish, like, dude, I cannot wait to talk to him. I cannot wait to have him on the podcast.
The time we're at 7:00 in the morning after our night podcast.
Yeah, he tried to wake me up. I'm like,
he woke me up at 7:30 on the couch. He's sitting next to me in his recliner, and he was like, hey, wake up. First night waking up somewhere on a couch somewhere, you don't even know where you're at. Like, I woke up so quickly that I was like jumping off the couch. I was like, oh shoot. I'm like looking around. He's like, hey, Ocean Warrior's finishing. I was like, huh? He's like, yep, it's time. I was like, okay. I mean, watching.
He tried to wake me and Tommy up, and we were like, nope.
that's going to be an incredible podcast. And I think that dude, I mean, it speaks for itself what the ocean does to people.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy didn't cross it once, didn't cross it twice, crossed it 3 times. And the 3rd time decided to do it by himself. And
What was it? He did it in a 4, a 2, and then solo?
Yeah, he did it with a 2 and then a 4 and then solo. But I don't know if you've seen any of his videos he posted while he was at sea. He did a video about his mental health out there and about being in his own thoughts and about the process in the mind, like the process of his mind through the row. And the guy was as transparent as it gets. I mean, if you learn that much about yourself, you feel the need to go back and do it again. And then you're done with it. I mean, his wife's got to be a saint to be like, like I'm telling you right now, the Pacific race was announced. And first thing I want to ask him is, you know, what's next? And I'm sure the Pacific's already run through his mind. I guarantee you he's at least thought about it. But
that's one of the questions I'm going to ask him when I have him on the show. You know, like what's next? I always love asking people who've done amazing things, you know, what's next? And a lot of times they're like, I don't know, but it's going to be something. And usually it's something big.
We've had that conversation. We had that conversation in Wisconsin over the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, about like,
what the hell do we do after this?
Tommy and Will both said, like, you know, this is a wild journey we're on. I mean, we're enjoying every minute of it. It's weird because it's like, I see you guys for the weekend, I leave, and I'm like, I'm sitting at the airport and I was like, man, that's like a short weekend. Missed the guys already. But
it's so weird too, because like we all talk so damn much and we have fun, and it's literally never like a dull moment. There's always somebody talking shit. There's always somebody saying something goofy, but then at the same time, you know, there's usually somebody saying something that's actually getting us to think. And like, we're always being real with each other. And that's what I love about this group is, you know, like we've all had, you know, quarrels here and there. I mean, it's stupid to think that we would never argue with each other, but it's always resolved. And it's always like the next day, it's whatever. Especially me and Tommy when we drink. Me and Tommy always argue when we drink.
We sat around the table and we'd all just tried. I want to say we just tried all those meals out, and we were just sitting there, and we were just kind of killing time because all the boat stuff was done. We're just killing time, and I don't remember who brought it up, but someone was like, "Hey, you know, once this row's over, what's next?" And I mean, obviously, we don't want to think too far ahead because we have a big challenge ahead of us.
Sure.
But at the same time, like when we get back, we're all going to take that like week or so in Antigua, and we're going to be spending time with our families. But when we get back and settle back into life, I have a feeling it's going to like, we're going to settle back into life, and it's going to come back up to where it's like, we're probably all going to end up on a video chat together being like, so guys, what's now that we're here, what's next?
Everybody laying in bed together the first night home. We're all sitting here talking on video chat.
Yeah. As long as you guys don't mention, like, if it's like an experience to where like, if we don't row in there and we're all looking at each other like we'll never do this again, if there's even like one person that's like, I'll do it again, as long as no one's FaceTiming me when I'm with my wife and asking me like, hey, what do you want to do the Pacific? Like when I'm just getting back, I should be okay to like explore other options on like extra stuff. It's just the journey has been great. I mean, we have so many like outrageous conversations as our team, the same way we've always done it. Like, you guys busted my balls when I was up there about my hospitality. Like, you go to Will's house, Will's cooking you like all this stuff. You come up here, we meet up with a guy, we meet up with my neighbor who, you know, owns the McDonald's and did a bunch of promotions for us. And I got you guys McDonald's. And Will's thing was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to cook you this elk meat burger. And then we'll go to Chad's and he'll take us to McDonald's and order gas station pizza.
I know, right? Dude, it was so funny because Will's like, yeah, I've cooked you guys like elk. I've cooked you guys really good burgers. We went out to an amazing fish fry. We went out to like one of the best places. We go to Chad's and we get gas station pizza and McDonald's.
Yeah. And that was a fact too. I was like, wait a second, guy, hold on a second. And Will's like, I'm just messing with you. I was like, man, I gotta step my game up. Well, that's like, I felt
like, no. We had steaks while we were there. He's like, yeah, but Nick cooked them.
Yeah, I gotta step up my game with the hostess gift too.
Nah, dude, you're great. It's fine. And it's the way I see it is, you know, I can sleep anywhere. I mean, I'll sleep at Whoopi.
We got such a good team that we can throw those jabs at each other.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna leave the team and like go home and go home, sit on the couch and talk to their wife and be like, hey, you know what they said to me today? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I would host, but I have a 700 square foot house and 6 people that live here, so it's probably not good to have another 3 in the house. They
Keep-
get to sleep out in the garage, I guess. I don't know.
Well, no, but then if you were hosting, we probably had the boat in the garage.
There you go. I'll just sleep in there. I'll bring the Warrior wagon back while I'll sleep in the bus.
I thought about it when I was at Will's. I was like, you know what? Let's just get. He was like, man, he goes, the guys took the beds. They took the girls' beds, so I'll throw down an air mattress for you. Or I was like, dude, I'll sleep on the couch. And I'll sleep anywhere. And I was like, you know, I'll
Yeah.
sleep in the boat until that first night, where like he's like, well, I shut the heat off in the garage. And it'll get down to like 45, and I walk in his house, and it's like 85 and sunny in there, and I'm like,
Dude, yeah, that wood fire furnace he's got, man, hot. You know, it's good times. So, question about, so what was this conversation that you had? I don't know if you can really speak on this yet.
What's
with
that?
The meeting that you had the other day?
So yesterday, I actually met up with like just a phenomenal team over at Lux Realty in Buffalo. It was a fluke actually how I met one of the ladies that was in the meeting with us. I bought a desk for my wife's private practice, and all I said when I bought this desk was, I said, you know, why are you getting rid of the desk? Like, it's in perfect shape. I know how much these things sell for. And she said, oh, you know, I was changing my office. By the way, she goes, by the way, I have a realty company if you ever looking for realty stuff. And I said, you guys ever do any sponsorships or charity stuff? And she was like, yeah, you know, we just did this fundraiser called Punt, and we raised a bunch of money for, and I was like, oh, because, you know, there's this thing I'm doing, and it's rowing across the ocean. And it kind of kickstarted a conversation. And then I reached out and I got hey, let's set up a meeting. So I went yesterday morning. I sat down with Shannon, Janine, Deb, and I believe his name is Tarek, over at the Lux Realty Company. And I sat down and they were like, hey, you know, we had joked around before about like, let's get us on a billboard. And then we sat down with their whole marketing team and they were like, you know, we want to do something. We want to be involved in this. And I started explaining what the row actually was, because a lot of people here are like, you're going to row the ocean. So I was answering all the questions, the typical questions. I was getting the typical looks of like, but there was like Shannon, who owns it. She was like, the looks I was getting was not like, you're crazy. It was kind of like, this is super insane and super exciting. And then they were talking about, you know, giving a little bit of like proceeds from sales and stuff like that towards the row. But we had discussed, you know, keeping those funds in Buffalo. And we had talked about it, and they actually posted something, was it yesterday or today, that for every sale they have, they're going to donate like $500 towards like Fight or Die's team to keep in Buffalo to help with the, you know, the 22 a day and the mental health crisis. And that's huge. And they've just having to sit down with these guys, standout crew. I mean, they want to be a part of it to the point of like, they were talking about, yeah, the idea was even thrown out like, hey, we'll fly out. Like, we would like to fly out there to like La Gomera. And I'm like, I'm invited. I always throw it out to people like, you want to come to Antigua, not La Gomera. La Gomera is where we're going to be, you know, head down, cranking away at this boat to get it in the water. Antigua is where it's going to be at. And, but yeah, just the support I got from those guys of them brainstorming around the table, throwing ideas. And it's always weird. I should probably come up with a better plan when I talk to people about the row, because in my mind, I can sell the passion of the row. I can sell what we're doing and all that stuff. But usually I get asked the question. I've been asked it in everyone. I was asked by Scott. I was asked by, you know, Janine and Shannon and Deb at the Lux thing. It was like, what are you looking to get from us? And I'm like, that's a good question.
Dude, it's really hard, you know, raising money, you know, because I've done it a time or two. You lowball yourself a lot, right? Because you're nervous that they're going to say no, you know, and that's the hard thing of like asking for the money that you actually want, you know. So building up the courage to say, hey, listen, I need $20,000, right? Instead of saying, well, you know, eventually I need to raise like 20,000.
I'm sure that's how the conversation with Scott went. I'm sure it was like 15 minutes of me going, well, you know, we got to be here. But, and then when he asked me flat out, he's like, what number do you need? And I was like, I've never asked for more than $1,000. What we need to roll this is $80,000.
Yeah.
So when I talked to them yesterday, these guys were awesome. I mean, they were brainstorming left and right. Great meeting, great people. and we're going to do some videos and stuff like that to kind of promote this. They're sending out some mailers and stuff around Buffalo. And like I told you guys, we first met when we knew the obstacle of the fundraising and stuff. And I was like, you know, like, I'm going to push for Buffalo. Buffalo is like, it's known as the city of good neighbors for a reason. Like, people here are just like, if they see a point and a purpose to something, like, this city gets behind it like no other. And they said, they had 2 different realty companies. They said, you know, we've never done anything big for this company as far as charity and fundraising. We do a lot of charity fundraising stuff, but we've never done anything big. And I think this is pretty big. And
yeah, it's pretty massive.
I said, I know. I'll tell you right now, for me, it's pretty big. Like, I know, like, the people helping us and the support system we have is huge. It's absolutely huge. But at the same time, like, there's 4 of us that have to row across an ocean, and we have so much support behind us. It's like, you can't say no to that now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even my wife had said it before. We were like debating my options with work and everything. It was like, she said, you just had somebody sponsor your whole row. Like, regardless of how employment and everything else is, like,
you don't have a choice now. You have to do
it. And I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Like, these guys want to see us at the end. They want to track everything along the way. They want to push the YB trackers so they can track us.
Yeah, see, that would be cool to do posts and stuff for us too. Like, you know, for those of you who are on Facebook, go check out the Fight or Die group. So we created a group for Fight or Die. It's not just for our team; it's for all of the Fight or Die rowing. So obviously they're going to support the team of the year, and right now the 22 team is the one that's getting, you know, the support. So go check out on Facebook the Fight or Die group. You know, and join the group, like their Facebook page, and then you can go over to US Vets or US
Vet Row.
I can't read usvetrow.org.
Yes.
And I said fightordie.org last week. I'm like, no, it's US Vets Row. But you guys can see the picture of the Whoopee, you know, the boat that we're rowing, and the guys who rowed back in, you know, 2018, 2019. You know, it's really cool to see what these guys are doing, and I'm honored to be a part of it, man. And you know, thank you for not giving up and talking me into this, because A, I hate you. B, I cannot wait.
Dude, there's no doubt it's gonna be the adventure of a lifetime. And like I said, when we go out and do this, what's the next step? You know, it's a huge step in our moving forward, as far as, like, 1, as an organization with Warriors Next Adventure, 2, for Fight or Die, with the partnership with them of, you know, bringing awareness to, like, getting more teams on the ocean to bring more awareness and change the culture. Like,
well, just letting people know, listen, you know, we can all do amazing things outside of the military. You know,
100%.
Just because the military service is done doesn't mean that life doesn't stop, right? Life doesn't stop. We can go do anything we want, and we can do things to inspire other people. And so when people ask me, like, well, what is this row doing for veterans' mental health? Like, well, A, it's a challenge for me. You know, it's a challenge for you. It's a challenge for Tommy and Will. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's a big way to say, hey, look what I can do. If I can do it, you can do it. Right. Yeah. And so when it comes to healing from mental health, it's the same thing. But
it's not like we're a team of guys that just came out and we're like, somebody threw a bunch of money at us. Somebody volunteered to give us all this training. Like, the rowing club has done leaps and bounds for the Buffalo Rowing Scholastic Association. Leaps and bounds with helping me with training. It's not like people just jumped out and did this and we don't have our own personal stuff. You've got your personal stuff. Tommy's got his personal stuff. I'm quitting a job that pays very well and making steps. Will's got his challenges. It's not like we all overcome our own stuff. And a lot of people
be great, man. I can't wait. Well, hey, dude, I don't want to cut you off, but we actually got to get going. So we'll continue talking after the fact. Just thank you for coming on. Thank you for getting this all set up. And thanks for all the work that you've been doing, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Perfect.